I can give you my entire photo and video class in one video. So here we go. There are two types of lenses. Prime lenses are fixed focal length. They cannot zoom in. So for instance, this 50. A zoom lens is going to have a variable focal length. So this one has 24 to 70. You can be at 24 or 70 by turning it and zooming in. But what is focal length? Focal length is the distance between the sensor and the optical center of the lens. So when you twist that lens, this piece right here, the optical center of the lens, will move in and out. That is going to create four different things. When you move this further in distance, it's going to magnify the image. We're going to zoom in. It's also going to start cropping things. So you get to magnify things, but you see less in the frame. That's going to be shown right here. So at 18, we're zoomed out, but we can see this mountain. If we zoom in to 300 millimeters, this barn gets magnified, but we stop seeing this fence and the sky and all of this. So the two things that happen when you zoom in is zooms in, but then it crops stuff. Other things that happen is compression. So for instance, right here, you can see that if you back in, zoom in and back out, the background looks like it gets closer to us. So that's what is getting compressed. So if you want a close background, you're going to use a longer lens and zoom in. And then depth of field, which we'll also get into later, the blurriness of the background. So focal length is four things: zoom, field of view, compression, and depth of field. Let's get into our manual settings. There's light that comes into the camera and it passes through the lens. That's called aperture. We measure that in f-stops. So you'll see f1, 2.0, 2.8, etc. To change that on our cameras, you hold the AV and scroll the wheel on the top. This is the quantity of light that enters the camera. You can see the lens can open and close more. When you have a low f number, you have more light coming in. So it's going to be right here. The more light, the larger the opening. A couple of things happen here. The lower the f number, the more light that you're letting into the camera. The lower the f number, the shallower the depth of field. So 1.4, that background is blurred right here. Once it gets up into the teens, you could basically see everything really clear. So this is also affected by focal length. So if you zoom in, you get a blurrier background. And if you're closer to your subjects, you're also going to have a blurrier depth of field. Shutter speed is how fast the shutter is opening and closing to allow light to get to the camera sensor. A long shutter speed is going to make water silky in photography right here. A very fast shutter speed is going to freeze the motion of even a hummingbird's wings. This is going to be just the scroll wheel at the top. And you can see that the shutter is opening here. ISO is the sensitivity of the camera's sensor to light. It's measured in hundreds and thousands. It's going to affect image noise. So we want this to be as low as possible. A low F number is a nice clean image. A high ISO rather is a noisy image. You're going to have all this grain. It's going to look really bad. What does this all mean for the transcript? Well, in ideal situations, you're going to be shooting at a focal length of 50 millimeters. That's going to, it's our 50 millimeter 1.8 lens, an aperture of 1.8 to 2.8. That's going to blur the background there. A shutter speed of 1/60th of a second. That's going to be fast enough to get motion of the person being interviewed, but slow enough that you're not going to get banding. And an ISO that is auto. You never want to go over ISO 1600 on our cameras. Everything will start looking really bad. A white balance is also going to be auto white balance. We can get into that later. If you're outside, you're actually going to be able to do a little bit more. So outdoors is going to be, if it's a bright sunny day, then these things are going to change. So You're still going to shoot with your 50mm lens. You're still going to shoot at an aperture of somewhere in the f1.8 to 2.8, but your shutter speed is going to come up. This is going to be somewhere in the 1/400th to probably 1/1000th range, maybe even faster. And your ISO is definitely not going to be on a bright sunny day anywhere near 1600. This is going to be about 100 to 400. And we're going to zero out the camera meter. So this is really what you need to know, but that's the settings for what we're talking about.